on because yesterday Midi Olympique ran with the story that Ronan O'Gara was was it Signé? Was it whatever it was Signé? Prêt à signer. Was ready to sign as part of the French coaching ticket for the Rugby World Cup. Obviously, Ronan O'Gara works with us here at Off the Ball, and so we put a quick Skype call into New Zealand, and lo and behold, he appeared on the show to quieten rumours that he was ready to sign. Have a look.
I was kind of initiating that I would be interested in working in France at some stage. Obviously, when I do finish up in Crusaders, I don't know when that will be. Hopefully not for a while yet. And then I suppose out of the blue, there's the potential to maybe get a role for this World Cup of France, is what he was saying. And I said, yeah, it would interest me, but nothing has come of it, you know.
And when did you speak to him?
Last week.
Okay, so that could still be alive, because certainly Midi Olympique, the report that's made gained the most traction over here is that you're open to hooking up with France for the World Cup, and that they're interested in you, and that this thing is on the point of being done.
Yeah, I saw it. I actually have the app on my phone, obviously, Rugby Rama, and I was learning more about it reading that than I had from any of it. So it's Prêt à signer, ready to sign, which is you know what I mean. That's farcical. It's you can't be ready to sign after a conversation with an agent that has nothing to do with anything that goes on within the. It's like an agent in Irish rugby, which a lot of them are good guys, but you need to get past the agent stage and try and get into the IRFU before or the FFR before you're even talking ballpark, isn't it? Yeah.
So you said you'd be interested to the agent in getting involved for the World Cup. Straightforward for you? Like that's a no-brainer for you?
No, there's so many conditions that would have to be right, obviously, but
interested in opening discussions, it seems.
Exactly, that's it, Joe. Couldn't put it, but that is exactly it, because I think if there were the right conditions and you had an opportunity to work with players that I think are good players, I would always consider it.
It's Ronan O'Gara talking to us last night to say that, well, his phone is ready to take some calls from whoever's interested. Look, it's great that he is being talked about at this moment for all those jobs, because ultimately that's what we want, a lot of Irish coaches and good jobs.
Without question. And obviously he's got to think what is best for him, when is best for him. Crucially, the question is, do jobs like this come along regularly, a job at that level with a test team in an exciting place? And the answer is no, they don't. That if you hold your fire for a year or two, taking the France job in 2 years' time, or a job in France, I should say, it's a bit more of a high pressurised situation, is it not?
Well, so I don't know. I obviously, I'm sure there are very in-depth conversations going on about, like, the best thing to do is take the job for the short term, take it for the World Cup, and go off and get like one of the big club jobs in France afterwards, where you don't have the pressure of the French job, which is, a bit of a poison chalice, and has been since the guy who's now the CEO of the French Rugby Federation was actually in charge, which is basically a decade and a half. So that job has been various ways to describe it.
It's the Real Madrid of rugby.
No, it's not, because you don't win the Champions League every year, and you don't have a team of Galacticos, and you can't sign players.
Over your head, there are certain...
It's the Watford
political
of international rugby. It's where no matter how good a job you do, like, you're always getting undermined by the various clubs.
Well, Watford having a chance of winning the Champions League anytime soon. France could potentially win the World Cup in 2023.
France could they could, yeah, they absolutely could, but they have as good a chance of winning this World Cup as they do of winning that one. Like, it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that somehow in a short period of time everybody gets in the same wavelength and they play well. I mean, it's unlikely, right? It's highly unlikely. But you go and you do a good job, and the defence suddenly has a structure, and their attacking play has a structure based on the quality of the defence that you put in, and you've installed that really quickly. You can use that as I now have that experience of what it's like to be in a World Cup. Go and take one of those great jobs. And the key thing here is that the money involved in coaching one of the top teams in France is way better than it would be for being the French coach, or an assistant coach with Ireland, or an assistant coach with any international team, or any international team's head coach. Joe Schmidt doesn't earn as much now as he would do if he was coaching Racing or Toulon or any of those big French clubs. So, like, it's important to remember that these jobs are short-lived. You get a short time to be in charge, and you should make as much money as you possibly can, because that's the whole point.
Yeah, and I do wonder if there's kind of a new trend of, especially in rugby, treating your coaching career almost like a playing career. That you look at yourself and you're like, I've got 10 years at my peak here. And for most coaches, well, actually, it's not just a rugby problem, is it? It is most sports where you're like, I'm doing well right now. I've got to make hay while the sun is shining here in my career, because it's actually not too much of a common situation where somebody will be coaching all the way up to the age of their mid-50s or early 60s as a head coach in rugby or any coach in rugby.
Yeah, and if you had genuine designs on being the France coach for the French World Cup in 2023, then it's too soon to be getting that job, because you know that there will be somebody fired in between now and then.
Probably 8 people fired as head coach between now and then.
It's not beyond the bounds possibility that there is 2 or 3 different coaching tickets, that the one who comes in next year isn't the one. But you at least then would have the experience of it, and so that the next time it comes around, you'll also have worked in France, if that's your career plan. I mean, who knows? Maybe the career plan is to, at some point, to take over Munster and do the Ireland thing, and that's what the most important aspect of this is. And it's impossible to tell. But certainly it's amazing that the options are there, and it's a clear sign to everybody else that, like, you need to go around the world and you need to do what he's done if you want to make it. That at the same time, John Fogarty's going to be the Ireland scrum coach, hopefully, or certainly that's how it's being discussed at the moment, and he's gone and come straight through the system that he's come through, and it's worked out for him. So
the other question I'd have, and I could be totally wrong here, is if Ronan O'Gara still sees himself in the learning phase of his career, is it such a good idea to go in with an international team? Granted, if it's on a short-term basis and you've got that one focus at the World Cup, that's good. But say, for example, now if you're learning your trade and after the Six Nations, what are you actually doing? Of course, you can build up kind of developmental tools, scouting tools, going along with the head coach to actually watch players and pick up things that way. But actually hands-on coaching experience at certain times of the year at internationals just isn't there. Like, granted, if he takes it over in the middle of the summer and he's prepping a team before their warm-ups and then into the World Cup, and it is only a 3-month agreement, then, you know, that's high octane, that's going to be good stuff. But from my kind of very knowledgeless standpoint here, if I was somebody who wanted a lot of experience at the early stages of my career, I'd rather stick with a club, as high risk as it seems.
It's just that there's been 5 years of that now, so, like, how much more? When do you get? Is it year 6, year 7, year 8? Like, what's the tipping point where you go, okay, I've learned enough now? Like, and also, you're coaching in wherever it is. There's, like, travel, logistics, a short training session, limited contact hours. You could actually be spending that time reading, going to watch another club train, watch another club train, watch another club train, speak with all the international managers, international coaches. It depends on what your role was. Obviously, you know, if you're working for France, you're not going to be hanging out with the IRFU. But if you're working for the French national team, you can then legitimately call in on any of those French coaches. And it seems like most coaches, certainly from talking to Stuart Lancaster, that everybody's actually happy enough to share stuff, because you're going to see the stuff on video anyway. We may as well explain what our thinking behind it is and what have you got to give me. So I don't know, it's like, it'll be interesting to see what happens next, and interesting to see where Paul O'Connell lands in all this too, given that it seems from what the French media were reporting that he is suddenly available at the end of the season to join up a coaching ticket too. So perhaps you do the World Cup, you come back, you get a job in France, and you've got a ready-made team behind you, because you know you've been around the world now at this point and seen the best coaching in New Zealand, the best coaching in Ireland, the best coaching in France. Suddenly you've got a pretty good contacts book.
5 years down the line, where are all the major players in Irish rugby? Where is Ronan O'Gara? Where is Paul O'Connell? Where is Andy Farrell? Where is Jerry Flannery?
After the next World Cup.
After the next World Cup.
After the 2023
World Cup. Look into your crystal ball. You call Wales to win the Grand Slam. Tell us where the Irish coaching figures are going to be.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the World Cup. If we get past the quarter-final stage, that's success. So, because that's our traditional barrier. And if Andy Farrell reaches a semi-final or a final and wants to keep the job, he keeps the job. Assuming he's still there, right? Let's just assume that he's still there. So after that, I don't know.
Is there a chance of a Paul O'Connell, Ronan O'Gara dream team at Munster down the line?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there's a good chance that it happens somewhere else first. But because you really only get one chance in your own. You can't go there and not be ready for it. I mean, you can, but you need to be pretty lucky with a bunch of different things that happen your way. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if that happens somewhere in France first, and that makes the most sense. And then at some point, somebody comes and says, "Okay, lads, it's Munster or Ireland now. Your time is ready." But like that, given that the IRFU have put their plans in place for the next World Cup cycle, that's not going to happen in the national team in the next 4 years.
Imagine how beloved it would be, like Munster fans looking up to the big screen and the camera pans to the box and it's ROG and Paul O'Connell, probably Felix Jones and Jerry Flannery as well with their headsets on, figuring out what to do on the pitch. They'll probably be the most loved management team in sport anywhere for a period of, like, results dependent.
That's it, right? You get like 4 weeks and then they're like, hang on a second, this needs to be a winning team now.
That honeymoon period would be pretty sweet though.
Yeah, it'd be great. Assuming that, I mean, I think they could probably be successful.
Of course, I totally invented that, but I kind of like this different world that we created.
And where's that job?
Munster.
Munster. Not
Largely.
Ireland. Not Ireland.
Well, that's I hadn't even considered that thought. To be honest with you, I hadn't even considered the thought of Paul O'Connell and Ronan O'Gara coaching together until 2 minutes ago. So
Really? It's been in the ether for
as Munster.
All right, okay. But like they've been talking about it for ages. Queenie's always talking about it.
Has he been on the record and said the two of them should take over at Munster?
At some point, yeah.
I just obviously wasn't listening that day.
They've been talking about it as well themselves. Like, oh yeah, you know, doesn't matter. The job title is job. Remember that whole job title thing?
Yeah.
That was about them working together.
Right. Okay. I clearly misinterpreted that, or just didn't listen to it. Clearly.